somewhere on the equator lies a country that officially doesn't count as a superpower. No nuclear weapons on the news. No president dominating global headlines every week. No army invading continents. And yet, more ships pass through here every month than through the Suez Canal. The phone in your pocket, the electric car on the road, the battery in your laptop. Chances are critical raw material. Inside it came from this country. While the world stays fixated on America, China, and Europe, this country is quietly building something that could reshape the global order within 20 years. Which country is this? Why does almost no one talk about it? And why are the world's biggest powers quietly racing to win it over? Keep watching. The end of this video reveals a twist that changes everything. The clues. Let's line up the clues like a detective would. Clue 1. This country sits exactly at the crossing point of two oceans. Nearly every ship traveling from Asia to Europe or the Middle East has to pass through here. Clue 2. Underground lies a treasure of minerals the world urgently needs for the energy transition, especially nickel, essential for batteries. Clue 3. It has the fourth largest population on Earth, and that population is remarkably young. Clue 4. It isn't one solid landmass. It's made up of more than 17,000 islands. Have you guessed it? We're talking about Indonesia. Why geography decides everything. Indonesia sits on what geographers call the maritime crossroads of the world. Between its islands run straits like Malacca, Sunda, and Lombok, narrow passages through which a huge share of global trade must pass. Oil from the Middle East, electronics from Asia, containers full of consumer goods. Almost everything moves through these waters. Whoever controls these straits has influence over global trade, not by blocking ships, but simply by existing exactly where everyone must pass. It's the same principle that gave Egypt power through the Suez Canal and Panama through its canal, except this region is bigger, busier, and far less known. Indonesia also has a rare geological advantage. It sits right between tectonic plates and two oceans, making it both strategically located and mineral-rich. The history of a sleeping giant. To understand why Indonesia is only now appearing on a world stage, we need to go back in time. For centuries, this region was a patchwork of kingdoms and sultanates until European trading companies, especially the Dutch VOC, colonized the islands for spices like nutmeg and cloves. For nearly 300 years, the land was drained, not developed. Only in 1945 did Indonesia declare independence, but uniting 17,000 islands, hundreds of ethnic groups, and dozens of languages proved enormous. Decades of instability, authoritarian rule under Suharto, and economic crises followed. As a result, while Japan, South Korea, and later China made their economic leaps, Indonesia stayed under the radar, not for lack of potential, but because it first had to build its own foundation. That foundation is now in place, and that's where the story takes a new turn. The quiet economic rise. Over the past decade, something changed. Indonesia decided to stop giving away its biggest asset for free. The country holds the world's largest nickel reserves, essential for EV batteries. It used to export raw ore and let other countries profit. Since 2020, that's banned, or must be processed locally first. The result, billions in foreign investment are flowing into Indonesian processing plants. Car makers, battery producers, and tech companies are lining up to build factories here, simply because the country owns the raw material. On top of that, Indonesia has over 280 million people, average age just 29. While Germany, Japan, and even China are aging, Indonesia's workforce is growing, a demographic window that opens only once in a country's history. The capital is even being completely rebuilt, a brand new city, Nusantara, rising from the rainforest of Borneo as a symbol of a new era. Why the great powers are watching. Here's where it gets interesting. Both the United States and China are trying to win Indonesia over. China is investing heavily in infrastructure and nickel plants. The U.S. is pushing trade deals and battery tech investments as a counterweight. Even Europe and Japan want a seat at the table. No one wants to be shut out of what may become the most important raw material market of the next 30 years. For Indonesia, this is a unique position. It doesn't have to pick a side. It can negotiate with everyone at once and choose the best terms. That's exactly how quiet powers have emerged throughout history, not through war, but by becoming indispensable. But here's the twist you didn't see coming. While Indonesia presents itself as the new, independent player on the world stage, the numbers tell a different story. More than 60% of the new nickel plants are financed, built, and operated by one country, China. That means the independent rising power we just described is more entangled with Beijing than with anyone else. The factories stand on Indonesian soil, but profits and technology partly flow back to Chinese companies. Indonesia gets jobs, tax revenue, and prestige. China gets control over the supply chain without sending a single soldier. In other words, the power quietly rising might not be Indonesia alone. It's a new kind of power, one that emerges when two countries need each other, and no one is entirely sure who holds the most control. Is Indonesia the next major global player, or is it the most important pawn in someone else's game? That's a question even global analysts can't agree on. But one thing is certain: keep an eye on this country, because the decisions made there today could shape your phone, your car, and your energy for the next decade. So, what do you think? Is Indonesia the next global power, or just a smart player in a bigger game? Let me know in the comments. I read everyone. If you found this useful, hit like and subscribe to Atlasora for more on geography, economy, history, and the future of our world. See you next time.